Welcome to Windows on the World with me, Mark Windows, bringing you cutting-edge news, empowering information and no conspiracy theories. Kevin Annett has been a guest on Windows on the World previously. Kevin's award-winning film, Unrepentant, documented the genocide of Native American Indians by the British Crown. He was a priest in the United Church and dismissed after questioning the church about the treatment of Native Americans. He has recently set up the ITCCS.org, the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State, whose mandate is to legally prosecute those people and institutions responsible for the exploitation, trafficking, torture and murder of children past and present, and to stop these and other criminal actions by church and state, including by disestablishing those same institutions. Kevin joins us by webcam. Hi, Kevin Annett, welcome to Windows on the World.
Hi Mark, it's good to be back.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear from you, and you've got some updates, haven't you?
I sure do. It's coming out of Ireland, as people might have heard. The top cardinal there, Sean Brady, just resigned, really forced out, because of a couple of things. He was involved, first of all, in covering up the big mass grave that's being discovered at Chom in Galway. Over 800 babies' remains were found in the cistern at a Catholic orphanage, and he played a direct role in covering that up. That's come out recently, but as well as that, this last week on a blog show I did in Ireland, there was a man called Brendan Boland who came forward. He's a man now in his 50s, but he said when he was an 11-year-old child, Sean Brady, as a priest, forced him to sign a statement saying he had not been raped, even though he had just been raped by a priest called Brendan Smith. And so in other words, Sean Brady was strong-arming an 11-year-old to lie, perjure himself in print to protect this other priest. That came out last week, and then Sean Brady tenders his resignation. I'm quite convinced it's all related, because he's now the fourth top Catholic official to step down after this evidence started coming out.
Well, that is very interesting. You actually say in your blog that they seem to be dropping like flies at the moment, which does seem to be true. Now, this story about these remains being found was in all the mainstream media, wasn't it?
That's right. It was, in the local newspapers in Ireland and the other media, as well as, we saw it quoted on CNN and some of the British newspapers. So, what's interesting was, like in Canada, the government in Ireland moved in very quickly with their official spin on it, the attempt to cover the whole thing up and prevent an investigation. But like I said, there's already sources in the police who've described how this is not just a normal burial. If there's such a thing as a normal burial of 800 babies, these remains were dismembered. And that bears the classic signs of sacrificial ritual, which we know is being connected to these top Catholic officials.
Well, yes, you brought up this Ninth Circle sacrificial cult, which you seem to have exposed. Can you just recap on that a little bit?
Well, it's based on two major testimonies from Toos Nijenhuis and a woman in Belgium called Anne-Marie. Now, we're posting Anne-Marie's statement this week at itccs.org. Toos's statement was up last year. Both of them describe being part of human hunting parties involving royalty in Holland, Belgium, and England. And there were Catholic bishops and others there as well. These children were obtained through Catholic orphanages, just like in Ireland, and through various criminal bodies. And, these eyewitnesses described in detail how they were often Irish people present there, and these rituals also went on in Ireland and England. So I mean, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. These things are finally coming together. But the best proof is the reaction of these people when they step down without explanation, just while in office. That's telling you something right there.
Well, it certainly seems to be. I mean, because you've been working on this a long time, and now it's tying in with the mainstream findings, and you're getting these eyewitnesses coming forward. These things have been reported in the past and were often thought to be maybe conspiracy theories, but you've really started to shine a light on this. Now you've got this common law court convened. Can you just recap a bit on how that's going? Because obviously these crimes are being investigated in these common law courts that you set up.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the other reason we think that Sean Brady is this last week, it was announced by a group of our supporters in Galway that they were convening a public inquiry in the form of a common law court in Galway into not only the deaths in those 800 babies, but those who covered it up. And they're going to be issuing summonses against government, church officials all over Ireland, just like we've done in other countries, with the focus being on that mass grave. There's now common law courts operating in 9 different countries as part of our network. There's been an attempt to get them together in England, with varying degrees of success. But, this is really beginning to get headway. And people are realizing that when the courts and the police are openly colluding with child killers, then it's up to we the people to take responsibility for that. And that's really not only what's behind these courts, but it's what has the powerful worried, because they realize they can't control that process.
That's absolutely right, and it is shining a light on, as we've said. Now, did you attempt to get into Ireland recently?
Well, we received information from the same source in the Gardaí, as a matter of fact, that the British government was seeking my extradition from Ireland if I came there. And, that has happened in the past before with IRA suspects and others, that the Irish government have complied with the British, with the Crown. And it was thought in the central headquarters in Belgium that it would be safer if we put it off a month, waited till mid-October when the whole delegation of us could go in together into Ireland. So that's the plan. We plan to go out to Galway and help, the establishment of this common law court.
Yes, because you were originally going to come over to Britain in September, so you've held that off for a month now.
Well, exactly. And, it's my inclination, Mark, is always just to go ahead like I've done in the past, but there's more to consider now. There's no more people involved. And it was really strongly urged on me to wait until I could be part of a bigger group. Yes, we will be coming to England as well. That's part of the whole effort, because we now have over 100 people working in our network in England.
Yes. So we've actually covered your common law courts before, and people have got involved with the ITCCS. And there was a guy on our show, David Compan, who was sectioned under the Mental Health Act for handing in a document of the ITCCS at Charing Cross Hospital. Also a soldier, a Jamaican soldier in the British Army. So they're obviously taking this quite seriously, but it's very worrying that they're using this fixated threat assessment, and it's not just on people who are reporting for the ITCCS. This is across the board now, and people they seem to want to section anyone who's getting the truth out. How has that affected anything you've been doing recently?
Unfortunately, it has, Mark. Because of that draconian power, even just the threat of it in England, it spooked a number of people, including in the Coventry group. There's a lot of dissension now going in our Coventry common law group. Some people don't even want to be part of this work anymore. Others want to go ahead because of how that's come down on not just David Compan, but others who have been threatened. So unfortunately, that can scare people off. It's meant to, cause divide and conquer tactics within various groups. We've been through a lot of this before. The best defense is an offense, to go publicly, to go down to these fixated threat assessments with placard signs, to put the spotlight on these criminals in power and let people be scared off. And so we find when we do that, whether it's England, Canada, elsewhere, it does have an effect because these people know they're guilty, whether it's Sean Brady or others in power. They know they're involved in child trafficking. They want to silence people before this information can come out. But if that doesn't work, then they tend to back off. So I would just urge people to stay strong and connected and not be intimidated by those tactics.
I think that's absolutely right, because even in these other areas that we work in, we've found this to be the case with local authorities and the police, that if you actually stick to what you're saying and you know what you're saying is true, they do back off, because once this goes into statutory declarations, which are statements of truth, then they have to actually bring forth a complaint or a complainant and some evidence. So I think that's absolutely right. So if you're strong in the evidence that you've got and you have a strong belief in that evidence, then you should take it forward. It's your duty to take it forward, I think.
Absolutely, Mark. And, you know, I had a lot of personal experience with this. When you stand in your own truth and you don't operate in their vibration, which is really based on fear, when you're not standing in fear, they really don't have any control over you. I remember a classic case of that. I was out on Parliament Hill in Ottawa, in Canada, and there was a group of only about 20 of us, myself and some Mohawk Indians, and I gave a speech with a bullhorn. We were surrounded by RCMP officers, and I said, you know, that I was calling for the end of the monarchy and for a republic in Canada, for the prosecution of Elizabeth Windsor. And I said to these Mounties, I'm committing an act of sedition right now. I challenge you to arrest me if what you think I'm doing is wrong or if it's against the law. They all just kind of looked away sheepishly. And later, one of the cops came up to me and said, I agree with you. So, you know, there's a lot more support in the system, I think, than we realized.
Yeah, and the mold is being broken by those sort of actions. And I agree. I mean, you've been incredibly brave with what you've been doing, because you've been doing this a long time. It's not just a recent thing, because your documentary Unrepentant came out many years ago, didn't it?
It came out in 2007, and right after it began to get large distribution, within a couple of months, the government did issue their so-called about the Indian schools genocide. And as a matter of fact, just 2 months ago, the Canadian press reported that the governments in Western Canada have acknowledged that thousands of children died in their custody alone. So, you know, confirming what I said as far back as 1996. So all of this comes out in the wash eventually. You just have to be persistent.
I think that's exactly right, and that's exactly how you've been over these years, and it is starting to come to light now. So thanks very much, Kevin, for that update, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you, Mark.
In your opinion, do you think the jury was led?
It's not mine to say.
Very diplomatic. Tell the viewers a bit about what happened to you.
Well, they bribed 3 criminals to come in and give hearsay.
If a bomb went off in London and took 92 lives, yeah, would you want to be on the payroll of that?
It's all based on models and projections.
It's all over bother shouting.
In order to get me in prison, they probably broke, you know, a couple dozen laws.
Free Yolanda. Y'all planted drugs on Yolanda, and we're going to get her released and get the crooked cops busted.
That gave all the officers time for their adrenaline to slow down so we wouldn't get shot.
Just for the viewers out there who may not know about this story, when did you discover this pyramid?
In April of 2005, I first came to little Bosnian town of Visoko.
When you drive someone to take their own life, like the CSA have done, I mean, that's an abomination.
Thanks for being on Windows on the World.
Peace to London.
The rest is history, and everybody called me delirious after that.
So James joins us now on Windows on the World. He's got some very interesting information, and it's going to shock quite a few people. So James, welcome to Windows on the World.
Thanks, Mark. It's great to finally be on here.
Well, it's great to talk to you in an interview, because we've been talking for several months, and you started out by having some interactions with Capita or TV licensing, didn't you?
Yeah, they were coming to my door, and I hadn't already communicated to TV licensing that I no longer required a TV license. I'd had previous experience of them coming to my door and having to tell them, no, I don't need one. But they asked for your name, they asked to come into your home, and I just reached a point in my life where I didn't feel it was necessary. I wasn't lawfully obliged to comply with their requests, and they were just requests, they weren't orders. So I video recorded them at the door for evidence. I felt that the visits were turning into harassment, so I started to record them, and those videos were inevitably uploaded to YouTube.
Just to stop you a minute there, James, to clarify this. So how many times were they coming round? Were they coming round every few weeks or every few months?
It started off just coming round and me having to explain the situation, and then what happened was the times that I began recording them, it was one recording within a month period. So I had 3 recorded visits within the space of 3 months. So it was consistent. Having to explain myself again to them, I decided not to do it at this point. So basically I was just being harassed and had no need for a TV licence. And I thought that was the end of it. I thought I would record them for my own personal evidence. I don't require a TV licence, and I thought that would be the end of the story, but that wasn't the case.
And you wrote several reports about this, but can you tell us what eventually happened?
Eventually what happened is Capita, TV licensing, BBC, and I say all 3 because they're all part of the same entity, if you like. They're just all trade names. People don't realise TV licensing isn't just an actual trade name. It's not a company as such. They came to my door with a warrant to enter and search premises. Now, to acquire this warrant, they would have happened to have made an application to a court. In this case, it was Kirklees Magistrates Courts. To acquire that search warrant, they would have needed reasonable articulable suspicion as to an offence being committed under the Communications Act of 2003, which is to watch or record live broadcasting signals without a TV licence. Well, when they first come to my door, there was 2 constables and 2 TV licences, and my door was open. My kids were running in and out of the house. And the first constable put his foot straight over my threshold. So I couldn't even close the door if I wanted to. He told me that, I told him to remove the foot. He ignored me for a start and told me that he had a warrant to enter and search premises. And I was stumped. I was absolutely like, how possibly could they have got a warrant for suspicion of live broadcasting coming into the home when there's physically no live broadcasting coming into my home? Virgin had been disconnected. The aerial from the roof had been snipped coming into the wall of the house from the outside. There was no live broadcasting at all coming in. So I thought, hold on a minute. They've had suspicion, they've gone to a court, made an application, and somebody's granted it. I says to the copper, what, a signed warrant from the magistrates' courts, a signed wet stamp, a wet signed warrant, and he says, yeah, and he pulled it out and he showed me, and I was outraged, I couldn't believe it. I was in protest, and I was this close to not letting them in my house, but I did have children there, I did have family there, and I wanted the experience to be over with because it was causing me, I was made to feel harassed, and I was definitely distressed and alarmed. So in the end, I consented to them to come in under duress to check that there was no live broadcasting streaming coming into my house, and I quote, get the hell back out of my house, which they did. Unfortunately, once they were in my home, they started playing silly little games with me, like they pointed out that there was in fact a TV in the house. Well, you only need to pay for a licence if you're watching live broadcasting. You can use a TV to be used as an extended display or hooked up to a DVD player without the use of a TV, the need for a TV licence. Some people even stream ITV through the catch-up, and that's also perfectly acceptable without the use of TV licence. Yeah. So they've tried to lie right there in front of the coppers, the police, the 2 constables that they're supposed to be upholding their oath as well. They've lied to them to try and coerce me right there and then to agreeing to fill in an application for a TV licence? And I said, absolutely not. Just do your job, check there's no live broadcasting in this house at the back of the telly, and get out. And they did. So that was that experience. That left me angry and dismayed, not being able to, understanding that I had rights, that I had the right to feel safe in my own home, the right to privacy, the right
well,
to...
Well, it is an infringement, James, because as we know, if you state at the door to these private security goon employees, whoever they are, whether it's Capita or anybody else, they have no right of entry into your home, and they're working for private interests. And that actually goes for bailiff companies as well, because they're working for private interests too. Now, the thing is with this, is the police are taking the side of these people who are working in the private. So the public employees are actually siding with the private, and they're doing it through the courts. Now, if Capita turn up here, I tell them I haven't got a television. I've no intention of letting them in. And if they get stroppy, then I tell them where to go, which is what everybody should be able to do. They're private employees working in the private sector. So you wrote some articles and you did some reports on this, didn't you? Which have been quite helpful and beneficial. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I broke the whole thing down. I decided that I wanted to understand, and I'm not legally qualified. And to be honest, how many members of the public are legally qualified? I simply just wanted to understand. So I decided to try and find out how they acquired the warrant, and that involved making an application to the court and asking them, how did they get the warrant? I wanted to see the information relating to the warrant. What I did was I made an application to the courts. I wanted to see the reasonable articulable suspicion that was submitted to the courts that resulted in the courts issuing the warrant. I got the document, and in the document was statements made that were complete lies, and I'd recorded the encounters at the door by TV licence, proving that they lied. So they've committed perjury to obtain the warrant to get entry to my home where they had no prior entitlement, and that's key. What people need to remember is that there is no lawful requirement to let anybody into their home at any time unless they have lawful authority.
And that's going to become even more important the way things are going, because with the councils working with the police, which we're going to talk about in a short while, then things are only going to get worse. And these public servants and officers who have duties and liabilities have no right of entry into your property. They basically... They're trying it on, a lot of them, but also what we're finding now is the courts are letting this happen. And so what you're saying is not an isolated thing, it's pretty typical that these people are going into court, they're getting a court warrant by completely lying. So tell us a bit what happened. How did you manage to get some kind of redress against them, or did you?
Didn't get any redress. What I did obtain was further information, basically confirming everything you've just said. What seems to be the case is that these corporations and organisations seem to have privileged powers that they're not really supposed to have. They're operating on assumptions and presumptions, and they are being backed by the courts and the police when they're not supposed to be doing that. Their authority comes from a lawful means. These companies, TV Licence, Capita Business Services Limited, CSA, council tax, right across the country are displaying a level of authority that they do not have. It's unlawful what they are doing. People think that just because it's council tax or the police or the courts that it's all kosher and it's all okay, and the evidence is everything to the contrary.
That's right. So you pointed out that these guys from Capita had put in false evidence to get a warrant. So
I wrote the whole case up in a 150-page report documenting the entire case, and took the whole thing down to the police station to make a complaint. I virtually had the whole case wrapped, packaged and labelled, and just was delivering it for them. All they had to do was do the duty as police officers. And they wouldn't take the complaint. So I made a complaint on the person who wouldn't take the complaint, and my complaint was upheld. Then they went and told me that they couldn't take the complaint because it didn't weigh the balance of probabilities. And I said that
you went and proved fact, and they said that the balance of probabilities didn't add up, even though you'd provided them with the facts that these basically they're just employees of a corporation who lie to get a warrant into your property.
It was the balance of probabilities that motivated me to go ahead and acquire the information that resulted in the search warrant being issued in the first place.
Exactly
the balance of probabilities told me that they were committing a crime straight away. I just needed to see what those lies were. I got them, and I could prove they were lies, and that still isn't good enough for the police. Proof and evidence will not get a conviction. If you go to the police and report a crime and it can't be proven, there won't be a conviction. Nobody will be cautioned or convicted. But if you take evidence of an actual crime taking place and you go down to the police station, you expect justice to be served, and you don't get it at all.
No, that's very true, because their job as administrators is particularly lacking. They are no good at dealing with complaints or evidence that's presented to them. That's in my experience as well. But they are very good at teaming up with private interests like Capita or private bailiff companies. They love teaming up with private bailiff companies and kicking people's doors in. They love doing that. And we've given evidence of the police breaking down doors with no court authority, and their own press office actually admitting that if they did do that, then it would have been breaking the law. So we've filmed the police breaking the law, and I think everyone should film the police if they break the law. And that's going to bring us into another case that you've had in part 2. We're just going to take a short break. Our next guest, Nasrin, was evicted from her own property. This was due to a management company issuing charges which she disputed.
The lady called for assistance from the police, and she's now been arrested, handcuffed, took out of her own home.
The student loans, the debt book has been sold. All of what we've talked about is coming your way.
Sergeant?
Have a seat. I don't actually necessarily going to a police station at this time.
What has she been arrested for?
Well, that video was very shocking, because Nasrin was actually peacefully occupying her own property, and she was arrested for breach of the peace in her own house.
It's very painful to watch, because in that instance I realised something terrible is happening in this country.
We did a show about people getting their doors kicked in by the police on behalf of private interests without proper court warrants, and this is actual fact. This is happening.
It's illegal and it's corrupt, and you have to ask yourself, why are the people who are willing to bust in people's doors, what the hell happened to them?
You actually called me as they were smashing the door. Yeah. We actually got a phone call into their press office, and first of all they said the police would never do that. However, they've been caught on video doing just that. The second time we called, they said if the police did that, it would be criminal damage. So you've just witnessed criminal damage by the police.
you've no need for a TV licence if you're not using any live broadcasting. That means Virgin, Sky, or even just connecting your aerial on the roof to your telly. If you are not doing any of those things, do not, under any circumstances, let them into your home. Do not talk to them at the door, and absolutely do not give them any personal information whatsoever. To pervert the course of justice, to try and get an offence where there is no offence, they will create false scenarios and lie to try and get that offence, or get you liable for it as well, which could mean fine, sometimes in some cases even time imprisonment, not necessarily with TV licence. Council tax, we've got those problems, and council tax is sort of the next.
That's what we're going to talk about next, but yes, they have duties and liabilities, and all we need to do is make them aware of that. The duties and liabilities are on them. It's actually not on us, because they're the ones who are really liable when things go wrong. The problem is that they all run away, don't they? But what you've done is brilliant with that, and everybody should do it. Do not be bullied or intimidated by Capita employees.
Absolutely imperative that you defend yourself, is because it is coming to people's door, and we're getting put into a position where we're having to prove our innocence, and it shouldn't be the case, and they're using that against us. You can't prove a negative. You can't prove you didn't do anything wrong. You shouldn't have to. The law is being completely perverted to the point where people are having to prove their own innocence, and it's unacceptable.
Now we're going to talk about council tax and liability orders. This is something that I was looking into several years ago, and to your astonishment, and mine, and anyone else who looks into this, you'll find that council tax liability orders do not exist. Can you tell us how you found this out?
Same thing I did with the TV licence, made an application to the courts. Only this time, when I made an application to the courts to request the alleged liability order that had allegedly been written, they told me that they had no records of this council tax matter, and I had to go and speak to the council. Well, straight away, that blew me. I'm just totally blown away. I was like, what? I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. I was like, how can there be an order written, made from the courts, authorised, issued from the courts, and they not have a record of it?
The council issue the liability order. They hire a room in a building known as a court, and they pay a magistrate to sit there, but the magistrate just bulk signs about 1,000 or 2,000 liability orders with a stroke of a pen, just to say he's been there. But liability orders from a court have to be considered. There has to be a complaint laid, a real complaint, and that complaint has to be laid by a person, and that is then put into the court, and the court accepts whether the complaint's going to be upheld, and it's going to go into the court, and then it has to be considered by a magistrate and justice of the peace. But that's not what happens, is it?
No, and given the way that council tax actually issue the summons, this is what I've discovered is the entire process of council tax and how they go about issuing summonses and making claim of liability orders that don't actually exist. And the way the process works, long story short, is that there is an unpaid bill, and sometimes in some cases it's not even unpaid. Sometimes people have received letters saying they have money owed to council tax that they genuinely just don't own, and when they make inquiries to it, they don't get any information back. They just say, no, you owe the money, and that's it. There's no form of redress, there's no form of remedy, there is no due consideration in the actual claim being made by the person on behalf of council tax. And what I discovered was, when I made inquiries to the court, I said to the court, I eventually got in touch with the legal team manager from Bradford Magistrates Court, Richard Irwin, and I asked him, are the courts responsible for information generated from civil and criminal proceedings? And he says, and I quote, in a letter from the 30th of May 2014, the court is indeed responsible for information generated relating to criminal and civil proceedings. And in the very same paragraph, the last, right at the end of it, it basically goes on to say, the court, in accordance with the relevant legislative provisions, will inform the officer of Bradford Council of those liability orders which have been granted, but no paperwork, including the individual liability orders themselves, is physically produced by the court.
That's right.
So
these liability orders, these liability orders, they exist in a different dimension, don't they?
Exactly. They exist in, at best, electronic form, and there was no liability order ever created as a result of lawful proceedings taking place, because there was no lawful proceeding taking place. This was and is private council tax matters taking place in our public courts that the courts themselves admit. They only rent the rooms out to council tax so that council tax can go ahead and perform their own bulk hearing sessions. We are talking hundreds, if not thousands, of applications that have just been rubber stamped, and council are sending out their own summonses to people to invite them to their own private venue held within the courts. And I have to reaffirm the fact that when you go to the courts for an alleged council tax hearing, you are going to a private venue and the courts have nothing to do with it.
That's great information there, James, and something everybody should know. But because you found this out, there seem to be some quite serious repercussions that have happened. And you've been harassed by both the council and the police because you've brought this to light. Can you tell us a bit about what's happened?
Yeah, the response from the reports that I've made are meticulous by nature. They use complete reasoning to explain my version and understanding of what is happening with council tax. And I believe that this has prompted private council tax interests to use the police to come to find, they come to the premises that I was at the time. They come to the premises that I was staying at the time, and they knocked on the door. There were two civilians in clothing. This is on the Tuesday, the 19th of August this month. Two civilians in clothing, a male and a female. It was the male that spoke, and straight away they said they wanted to speak to me about a video that had been uploaded to YouTube. This is a video I've uploaded to YouTube. And he sort of dismissed the question, and he says, well, we're with the police and we've got suspicion of an offence under the Criminal Justice Act 1925 being committed.
Which actually we looked up, and it refers to taking photographs in a criminal court, which doesn't apply to you because you were in a place of administration. You were recording it for your own evidence, and basically you were in a public building. Courts are public. You were not stopped from recording, and you weren't. It would have had to be the magistrate or the clerk of the court who made the complaint. So no complaint was brought against you, but because you're pointing out something that is in the public interest, you've got two CID guys come to your door, and they're trying to get you to admit to an offence that you haven't committed under an act that doesn't apply to you.
Yeah, I figured out pretty much straight away what they were trying to do. And the reason that I knew that they were trying to mislead and use deception to get what they wanted was the fact that when I asked who they were and to produce identification, the male pulled out his ID badge. His name came up Stephen R. There was no number on it, just his picture, his name, not his full name, and West Yorkshire Police. And when I turned to the female, she says, I don't have to tell you that information. So here we've got somebody from the police speaking to a member of the public who has done nothing wrong. He's not been charged with anything. They claim they've got suspicion, but they won't identify themselves. So
yeah, it's all the wrong way round, because they should identify themselves to you. they're not bringing forth a complaint. They're trying to coerce you into accepting a caution on camera for a crime that not only you haven't committed, but you couldn't have committed because the act wouldn't have applied.
You're exactly right, and because he did want to get me to admit on camera, because what he asked me to do was to volunteer to go down to the police station under caution. And I remember what, for your viewers, he's asking me if I'm willing to go down to the station. Well, I'm not obliged to, and I know I've done nothing wrong.
It's more serious than that, James, because if you go down to a police station and accept a caution, it means you admit the offence. So he's trying to get you to admit to an offence you haven't committed and have a camera there to film that. So basically, none of this applies to you. They're harassing you and they're coercing you to go to their place of business to accept a punishment for something you haven't done.
Yes, and because they couldn't get that, what they did next was to come back to the door every day and do various forms of harassment. They've buzzed up to the premises, despite the fact that they've been told by the tenant that I'm not a tenant there, I don't live there. This has been told by the landlord as well, on top of that. They've come back to the door, they've put the hand over the keyhole, they've knocked on the door and not said who they are, they've put the hand over the keyhole, they've come to the door with a full-blown documentary camera to try and get on video at somebody's private home who has done nothing wrong to try and criminalise them and demonise them for putting information out that exposes fraud and corruption.
Well, this is the problem, you see. If you expose fraud and corruption in this country, you're going to be in big trouble because it runs on fraud and corruption. And as this system's collapsing, the fraud and corruption is getting bigger and bigger. So it's spreading out, and there's more people who've got this, they've got a vested interest in this fraud. So they all need to cover for each other. So the police are clearly covering up the fraud. They're committing offences, actually, by coercing members of the public to accept criminal, basically convictions, which is actually what a caution is. It's the same as it's basically saying we won't send you to prison, but you have to accept that you've committed an offence. They're not charging you with an offence. They can't tell you what offence you've committed, but they want you to admit to one.
Yes, exactly. And where it got really bad was when this just happened just Monday, just last Monday. We were down at the solicitors arranging for the solicitor to find out what the hell's going on, because the CID at the door...
For viewers who've just joined us, James.
Didn't even tell me what the offence was.
Yeah, but for viewers who've just joined us, so you need to get a solicitor for an offence that you haven't committed, for a crime that you couldn't have committed, right?
That's right. Yeah. They're putting me in a position where they're harassing not just me, but the person who lives there, who's declared I'm not there. I don't live there. The only reason that they've gone to that particular address is because the person who lives there happens to be one of the cases that I have personally written up. They don't know where I live. That's why they've gone to this person's address, and I think that in itself is absolutely shocking, that they can go to a woman's house, knock on a door, harass her, threaten her at the door, threaten to force their way in without the warrant. They told the person who lived there, when she answered the door, I wasn't there, looking for me, the police, they said, we've got the power to force us way in here without a warrant. And she says, no, I don't think so. And she pulled out a phone and she says, I'm going to press the record button now. Will you please record that? Repeat what you just said for the recording. And they backed down straight away and left. So they've got no power until you give it to them, or until you've broken the law, and then they can exercise their power to serve justice. That's their jobs. They've got duties and liabilities.
So what we find is that if you point out a fraud in this country, then the police will come round to your house trying to, without a warrant, without a claim against you, without a complainant who's made that claim, to try and coerce you into accepting basically a conviction, which is what a caution is, because it stays on the record, for a crime that not only could you not have committed because the place where they state you committed a crime was not a court, it was a place of administration, and there was no complaint from a judge or magistrate or clerk to the justices about anything that happened in that court. So they're trying to coerce you into accepting a charge for which you haven't committed. Now, basically, that's what what people would say happened in a so-called third world police state. But it's not a third world police state where you live, is it? Or is it?
Well, it was my impression that this was a free country. It was my impression that you could do anything you wanted within the law, as long as you weren't committing any harm, injury or loss as a result of your actions, and that you weren't hurting anybody else. You can do what you want because you are a human being, you were born free, you are free, and you don't need no Human Rights Act to tell you that. But the problem we've got is that these police now are working for private interests. They are subverting the law, and what they're trying to do is turn the mass population into I mean, they're already what are referred to as useless eaters, or basically we're being herded as cattle. The police have targets. They have a quota system. They won't admit it. They have a quota system. The prisons, the courts, they need bodies. They need bodies for revenue, and they need bodies for the funding to fund the prisons, which are mostly privately run now. And if they are government run, well, it amounts to the same thing, because there's government's hijacked by private and corporate interests. And in all these little areas that you're discussing, all these little matters, it all goes down the same road and all goes to the same destination. And what we're looking at here is police state. We're looking at police state run by the UN. I mean, you've talked many times about Agenda 21. You can't get more proof of Agenda 21 existing than a stone tablet that's been carved with their plan written on it in plain view for everyone to see. You know, the stone I'm talking about.
Georgia Guidestones.
To reduce world population, the chemtrails in the sky, GMO in his food, sodium fluoride in the water that Harvard studies prove reduces IQ and keeps the public numbed down.
Your case is extremely important, and I think everyone should take notice of it, because what these local authorities are doing, they're now building what they call high-density sustainable development housing, and that means the police and the council are in your business from day one. You will never own that property because that private property is about to be abolished. So what I would suggest people do is you keep the police and the local authority and private interests out of your business, deal with each other, barter. When you get an assumption, rebut that assumption as you have done here. So thanks a lot, James, and keep us updated.
Will do, Mark.
The Nutter is at Wembley Arena, and I tell you this, control system, you ain't seen nothing yet.
The fascist global state is not coming, because we're not having it anymore. No way! No more fear. We are all one. People are waking up. The beginning is here. Awaken.
Are you a reporter for WLS? I was wondering if you could do a story about these planes leaving these big contrails. Yeah, because Karen Wynn said that her producer is going to do it this week, and if you don't, I want to let you guys know that we're going to come to your station and we're going to stand in front of it until you do. There's about me and maybe 50 of us that are really going to do that. And we're not going to take you guys not telling us the truth anymore about our son being blocked. What's your name? Ashley? I know it's always really important because Frank Pratcher, Jason Boyer, and Karen Wonder does too. Yeah, no problem. I'll wait for you. Well, there you go. WLOS. Hires as usual. Not telling the real news. Fake news right there. We have to come together and we have to figure this shit out. And we got to get rid of these corporations, okay? Before we're all dead. Like Steve Messerschmidt, dead, wake up dead at 55, all right? I am pissed right now, okay? I want the shit to stop. I want it to stop. I go to EPA things, I call these people, I record it. Why aren't you guys? Why aren't y'all posting on my page what you're doing? Why aren't you calling these goddamn war pigs out? Call them out. Go on their goddamn pages. Call them on their offices. Record them. Paste it. Post it. Spread it. Share it. We gotta do something. The shit's ramped up. They're ramping it up on us. And we gotta get goddamn ramped up too. You understand me? So get your shit together, everybody. Pay your goddamn fucking bills. Get out there. Get on the phone. Stop moping. Email somebody. Call a goddamn meteorologist, a scientist, a politician, a corporation out. Now, I got a real goddamn non-for-profit for this March for Monsanto's thing. We will have a GMO-free Western North Carolina and life. We will stop genetically engineering our skies, our water, and our food now. Here comes a goddamn dump truck. Weather Warfare Reporter, Soul Sister Sue, over and out. Do something and do it now!
Windows on the World caught up with Soul Sister Sue, an active campaigner fighting the tyranny of Agenda 21, GM crops and geoengineering. Her organic farm in North Carolina is called the Farmville Pharmacy. Her videos can be seen on her YouTube channel, The Chicken Chick Revolution. Sue joins us by Skype from North Carolina. Okay, Soul Sister Sue, welcome back to Windows on the World. You're really mad today, and quite rightly so. Tell us why.
Hey, Mark. Hey, everybody out there. Yeah, well, they're pounding us. They're up there right now, spraying them war pig bastards are up there right now, spraying my farm. I went out and collected a couple of leaves to show you guys what's going on here. We're in full swing here in North America. This is summer, the end of summer. These are the leaves. I don't know if you can see them. These are the maples coming off of the trees right now. This is on every single leaf. Poplar, a birch, strawberries, weeds, rhododendrons that you cannot kill. A rhododendron, you cannot kill them. This one, look at how it's burned. I know you can't see very well on there, but everything is dying here. Everything and everyone is dying. People are dropping like flies around here, and everybody can't understand why. I can't either.
You've just seen an article that's made you even madder, haven't you? So just tell us a bit about that article, because I've quickly read through it, and I'm very aware of these people and who they work for and their geoengineering program. So just take the floor again, Sue.
Okay, well, David Keith and Ken Caldera are absolutely almost not worth mentioning. They're war pigs of the highest nature. They're the first ones that are going to be in jail when we put these people in jail where they belong, or worse, whatever. We'll all have to decide that with a jury of their peers, what their punishment is going to be. But I have a feeling it's going to be very severe. They also have a little business you don't know, may or may not know about, but it's a carbon capturing business. They have these huge machines that they take out into the desert that they're going to capture carbon and then use it in the forest where, of course, we all know that the plants love more and extra CO2. And in his article, he was saying how if they do the solar radiation management, actually no sun will be better for the plants because there'll be more CO2 in the air. Well, I'm no scientist, but I know that's bullshit. That's bullshit because I own a farm, and when I don't have any sun, everything's dead. So I put my fall crop in. The last time I saw full sunshine was 3 weeks ago on a Thursday. We're not counting days of sunlight now. We're counting hours and minutes of sunlight because that's how much less we are getting. So I don't know. I'm not a scientist. You're right. I'm a farmer. And guess what? My shit's dying.
I heard this off James Gilliland in Washington, that trees on his farm are suffering the same fate. We're seeing it here, but obviously trees die from the inside out, so it takes a long time for people to see that. But this geoengineering program, they're pretty much admitting that it's going on everywhere now. It was meant to be in some kind of experimental phase. But when you see the culprits, and they are just these washed out, kind of weak-willed, co-opted people who are basically putting out this propaganda with no scientific evidence to back it up. It's just nonsense. Even when you read the IPCC reports, a layman can see that they've got nothing to back up what they're saying. They've been caught out lying on so many occasions, and it started here with this climate gate where they tried to write the medieval warm period out of history, and they just make it up as they go along. It's absolute nonsense. It's all models and projections, and they're using this, yes, to kill the vegetation and us, and completely ruin the atmosphere of the planet. So, yeah, I'm pretty pissed myself as well, Sue.
I mean, it's insane. They have a huge climate. Now it's not called geoengineering anymore, Mark. Get it right. It's climate engineering now. So they're going to change the name of it. It's insane. Over here, guess what? The climate activists, engineering activists, they're all in fights. Right? They're fighting amongst themselves now, just like the Monsanto's things. We've been infiltrated with that too. These goddamn pigs are getting, they're winning, and we're not. So now I ask all the viewers out there, what have you done since I was first on Mark's show? What have you done? Who have you called? Where have you gone? Who have you called out? I want you all to write me. Sue, S-U-E, Hulbig. Hulbig. Mark will put up in the links. Facebook me. Tell me what you have done. Let's see where we can go from here. Because now nothing is getting done here. My husband, he was traveling the other day. They're laying him out 30 planes at once. Who sees 30 planes at once in the air? Nobody. And the people didn't even, there was some Brits. He interrupted him on his phone. He's like, you see that? He's like, oh, it's interesting. Yeah, he's still on his goddamn phone. What's wrong with you people?
Well, we know what's wrong with them. They're half asleep and they're brainwashed. But the point is that amongst all of the things that are going on now, you've got a divide. You've got the people who are getting more and more switched off and getting more and more stupid, and you've got ones that are seemingly, hopefully, doing a bit more research. But a lot of the people who are just out there, you know, posting things all over the place, they're not actually getting to the nitty gritty. That's what we do on this show, and that's what I do. I mean, I phone up local authorities. I get involved in this sort of stuff and make them aware that what they're doing is criminal, and everyone should be doing it. And it's quite good fun when you start, isn't it, Sue?
It's awesome fun, especially when you're winning. You know you're right, and they're lying straight through their teeth to you.
That's absolutely correct.
I don't know, maybe I need to get my own show too, and just, I don't know what to do anymore. I mean, we've done everything. We've gone to Washington. I've driven all over the world, gone to these meetings. Like I said, you can't even get your family and friends involved. I'll call it out to my family and friends. How many of you have watched my show with Mark? Because I know lots of my other friends have, but how many of my own family had watched my interview? I guarantee you zero. Zero. Of my own damn family, I can't even get on board. I'm sorry, but I mean, they know what's happening too. Why aren't they doing something? Why isn't everybody doing something? If we all stood up, we will win. These bastards will be in jail where they belong, and we'll be living a nice, clean, healthy life. Take all your money, put it in the green field, whatever you have to do. What is so hard about that?
Well, it's about lack of sovereignty. Once you get sovereignty within yourself, start thinking for yourself, things do change. And while you're still being basically co-opted by the system in every respect with the mind control and the nonsense that you're being fed, well, in that case, you have nothing to fight back with. So best thing to do is actually start, using your mind, to start basically creating your own system, the system which means that you do not buy into the system that is ruining everything around you and on the planet. So basically, why don't people just get together, start bartering, and start forming useful groups, not just these talking shops, and actually have cells within those groups four people maximum, 4 people cells, actually working on one single project and one single aspect, getting the information out there and attacking these government departments, because these are public servants. They're our servants. We're the masters. They're the servants. We have rights. They don't. They're officers. They have duties and responsibilities. We have rights. They have duties and responsibilities. They have liabilities for what they're doing. Make them personally liable.
Well, that's what we tried to do with the Monsanto's things, but we got infiltrated. You know, I thought we had 4 that was working towards a goal. But whenever I'd say, hey, let's march to the federal building. Let's do this on Friday when those bastards are in that building that you pay for. They know that the NOAA building, which is #1 responsible for chemtrails, geoengineering, climate engineering, solar radiation management, whatever the hell you want to call it. I call it screwed up. That's in Asheville, right here where I live. And I can't even get 5 people to go down there with me and stand out in front of there or the news station. You know, because, you know, if it works, I mean, I don't know if it works or not, but it makes me feel better to do it.
Yes, well,
I mean,
a visible presence outside public buildings is always a good thing because, as I said, they are the servants, we are the masters, they serve us, and they have duties and responsibilities and liabilities. So if you're on their case, that's all you can do.
We need the unity like they had in Turkey when it was going down there and they got their pots and pans out and they were banging on it. Guess what? It worked. There was millions of people united doing that, banging on pots and pans because that's all they have. Well, guess what? We have a lot more than that in the U.S. Y'all don't have guns, but we do. We can protect ourselves. We can, you know, but I can't protect myself and my farm from those airplanes in the sky constantly covering the sun, even if you want to take the chemical aspect out of it. Even if you want to say there's no chemicals in there, it is covering our sun and it is unacceptable. And I will never stop. I'll never stop. Never. Now I got a call back from the NASA lady when I filed that stuff on the NASA things, which I know you haven't talked about yet. But going back with the other program on the rockets that blew up. Good, yeah. Yeah, with the barium and the lithium and the strontium in it. Now they're doing it every month. They're doing it every month. So now they're saying that this is in the ionosphere, and whatever's in the ionosphere floats and doesn't come down. Now, I'm 5th grade science here, but I was told in science class that everything below the ozone had gravity and everything was falling from that. And if there were holes in the ozone because of our hairspray, excuse me, my husband forgot to turn the timer off because we bake our own bread. That's right. We're that crazy.
You must be some kind of criminal. Wait a minute. You bake your own bread. That means you're a terrorist, Sue. You mean you don't eat this bleached starch crap from the supermarket? Oh, you don't eat those buns with loads of sugar in that all the Americans eat? What, you come some kind of traitor?
I was in the bread aisle, and it was the cutest old man, and he was, you know, filling up the bread and everything. I said, excuse me, sir, do you eat your own product? And he said, oh, no way, ma'am.
I wouldn't trust myself. I wouldn't trust myself to bake bread.
I laughed my ass off. Yep, and I made my own tomato jam yesterday. Ooh, I have my own canned good food. I know my family thinks I'm crazy. Guess what? I'm growing my own food. I'm storing it. That's right. And I don't care if the government knows about it. Guess what? I've been doing this activist stuff for like 1.5 years now. I'm balls to the wall. I call NASA and record them. And guess what? I'm still here. Anyway, yeah, so I am trying, and that's my deal, you know, I'm trying to save my food in case the shit hits the fan. I don't know if it's going to, but guess what? It's really bad here. I don't know if you guys saw, like, the MRAPs and all that going down in St. Louis, Missouri, but it's going down over here. They're coming for us, for real. Like I told you last time, they're really coming for us.
Okay, Sue, for our international viewers who may not know about that, tell us about it.
Well, an unarmed black teenager, about 18 years old, was shot and killed by the police, running away from the police, actually. And the people had it. They're poor there. They don't have anything. And they'd had it. So they pretty much protested against the police, and they got rubber bullets. They got tear gas. They got MRAPs out. They got beat up. The news people, journalists were being put in jail. They aren't letting any of the stuff out about it. It was serious. It's real serious, and it's still going on.
Yeah,
and
I was aware of that story, and it's very similar to what happened over here. It's it could be just a false flag thing. They don't mind shooting a black person if it's going to get them what they want. It happened here in Tottenham in 2011. Riots were sparked off. The police were told to stand down. It spread all over the country, and then they started introducing military vehicles at the end of it. And since the Olympics here, the police have gone round in huge vans which hold about 20 police. These big box vans, you don't see them in cars very often now. They trawl around in little town centres. And they drive around all day doing apparently nothing in big vans. Well, that's to get you used to them being a presence, a military presence on the street. And it's happening here too. And they're going to create a little false flag again, so that they have their little agent provocateurs from down a police station get dressed up as anarchists and do the usual thing. And all this is for is to take away any remaining freedom and rights that we might claim if we were awake enough.
Well, I think that the people in the UK are a lot more aware than the US. I even when I worked in a Brit bar, I don't know if I told you that before, but I worked in a Brit bar for 10 years. So if there's any of my customers out here, it's Susie. Oh my God, can you believe it? Yes, you can. But we used to really talk. And when September 11th happened, I went into work early, of course. Everyone was freaking out because all the Brits would come and stay at our hotel in Orlando for 2 weeks. So you'd really get to know the families and things, and they would continue to come back year after year. And hi, everybody, miss you out there if you're watching me now. But we would talk about real issues, Mark, real issues. They knew what was going on in their country. They knew people's names. They knew the representatives' names. They talked to them. The people in the U.S., I could ask 10 people in Asheville who our governor is, and they wouldn't know who or what he is, you know. So I think that you do have an up there. You really do. I think that you guys really have it going on. And in the U.S., we're just so blind.
Well, thanks to people like you, Sue. We might be waking a few more up, but thanks for your input today, and we'll speak to you very soon.
I love you, Mark.
Thanks for joining us on Windows on the World. Remember, keep watching those, watching us, watching Windows on the World. We'll see you soon.